welcome to Part of My Sanity. Whew. It's been a minute, y'all. I think the last time, LA, when was the last time we did our last episode? Like 2 years ago?
Like February.
February, dog.
Oh man, it's been a minute.
It has been, and it's your fault. But we're going to get into it, though. I'm your host, Tevin, here with my lovely co-host, Megan G.
Hey.
Now, LA brought this up, and it's funny because it just came to my mind. We had this deep talk about mental health and, like, youth and stuff, like our first episode.
Correct.
And LA was like, y'all had a dope conversation, but it's like, who the hell are y'all? So, just to introduce myself, I'm Tevin Hero, like I said, but I have experience in the behavioral health field, especially working with the youth. Been in that field for about 3 years now, on and off for 3 years. So, when we talk about stuff like that, I can speak from a certain perspective. So, Megan, you have your credentials?
So I'm Megan G. Hi guys. I am a paramedic on an ambulance. So when you dial 911, it's like dialing 411 pain. So I can speak from the perspective of coming on scene, just witnessing somebody having the worst day of their life and
Yeah.
possibly and hopefully trusting to turn it into the best day of their life.
Amen.
So
We're gonna stop that up. Out there saving lives, you know. So let's jump right into it, man. Let me ask you this:
Okay.
how do you know if something is traumatic to you?
For me,
Yeah.
it depends on the emotional response that it elicits.
Elaborate on that, if you don't mind.
So, something traumatic would be like, since we just gonna delve into it, something traumatic would be, for me, an example and an experience that I experienced. I grew up in a single parent household.
Right.
So, my dad wasn't in the household.
Right.
So that traumatic experience followed me into adulthood because I now find the love that I was looking for in a father in a man. So
I'm glad you admit that, because a lot of y'all do that and don't know what that looks like, and that's okay.
it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
But I mean, with time, grace, and patience,
Yeah.
which is a virtue, you tend to start realizing,
Right.
what you want out of a man. And do you really want to date somebody that's like your father and you don't even know who your father really is?
Right.
So I had to ask myself that question a lot.
Do you feel like you still asking yourself that question today?
I do. Because a lot of my relationships that I have been in the past, like, they have, like I said, for me, trauma looks like the eliciting of an emotional response.
Right.
So for me, it's going to be anger, carrying that baggage, that
Right.
traumatic baggage.
Right.
Is probably the reason why I have an anxious, avoidant attachment style. Like, I'm nervous I feel insecure when it comes to, relationships. And that's because I want somebody to love me like how my father loved me.
Right.
But then I don't know what that looks like because I was raised in a single parent household. So I
Right.
don't know
So
what
it's
a man.
a question mark there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Dang, that's tough, dog. Bless your
it's
heart.
tough. But I mean, my mama, shout out to her. She a trooper.
Yeah.
She a soldier. She did it.
Yeah.
However, growing up, her kids never had successful relationships.
Right.
And they're getting married in their latter years because it's
Right.
more so like we didn't know what to look for.
Right.
So
Right. And I agree with that definition because I don't downplay anything that's traumatic to anybody.
correct.
Because it's not just what happened to you, it's the impact on the feel of it or the emotional
Correct.
side of it and the mental side of it that makes it traumatic for you. So,
Correct.
like, for me, to be honest, I have a very kind of like pedestrian life-ish outside of when I deal with women. Like, the meat of my trauma comes from an involvement of a woman. So we came up with these these segues, right?
Correct.
And we want to talk about first, like, how was it when we first kind of like graduated out of high school, going into young adulthood. And I would like to lead that, if you don't mind, because I actually thought of this on the way here, actually, because I was really trying to figure out like what I was going to talk about because I forgot my notes. And I misplaced them because I got them here, but I misplaced them. And I remember the very first year out of high school, I was dealing with this lady, and we went to the same high school.
Okay.
And she was a senior the year I graduated, if I'm saying that right. Well, she was going into a senior year the year I
Okay.
graduated. So she was a senior, and this is my first year out of high school, whatever.
Okay.
Right? So she was a freshman. Now, I laid it out there. Don't make that face. Now, I got to lay that out there for context, right?
Okay.
So I ended up taking her to Virginia, whatever, right? So she ended up, like, telling her mom. Now, no disrespect to her mom, but her mom really looks like the woman version of Mike Tyson. Literally. Don't
So
laugh.
what does she look like?
But for real though, like she had a like she built like she boxed, but she was a nurse. You know, I'm like, why you built and all you do is just
Very
being
masculine
yeah,
features.
yeah. So I came over there one day,
Okay.
right? She invited me over for dinner, want to talk. I need to meet this man who took my daughter to Virginia type stuff, right?
Okay.
So helped her cook the meal. We had chicken tenders and fries.
Oh.
Don't ask me why I remember that meal, but when you deal with trauma, you remember the small details of
The
everything.
little details.
Of everything, man. So we had chicken tenders and fries, right? Everything was cool. She was cool. You know, now when we sat down and actually ate dinner, that's when things kind of turned up just a little bit. She started asking me questions, you know, about myself, like, hey, you out of high school, so, you know, what's your career path, stuff like that. Then she started asking about her daughter. So it was right. It was like, so how do you feel about my daughter? And I'm like, I respect and I have feelings because we was like together. It wasn't like, it was like she was like a jump off or whatever.
Or smash and pass.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Like we was like in a relationship, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you know, I care for your daughter, this, that, and the other. And once I said that, she just turned up on me, man. She just like started asking all these like uncomfortable questions, right? And she was like, you know, y'all had unprotected says you could have gave her AIDS and this and the other. I'm like,
Wow. Yeah.
dang,
that-
you wanted to put that on me like that?
yeah,
I mean, I
that took a
understand,
turn
yeah.
Quick.
So she started going way left field with it, right? And I remember, and this would have started getting traumatic for me, right? It wasn't really the questioning; it was like the act. So I remember, like, just respectfully, like pushing myself from the table, getting up, walking slowly to the door. Now I'm like, I'm walking slow. I'm shaking because it's like I'm kind of reliving this, because it was scary, bro. And I remember walking to the door, halfway to the door.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, the mother ran right past me and she scratched my neck, grabbed me by the collar,
Oh.
and like, you're not going nowhere. So this this woman has me hostage in her own home, yelling in my face, neck all scratched up, got me by the collar. She's about to whoop my A word, right? So out of nowhere, the girl I was dealing with tackled her, like speared her off me, like on some Goldberg from WWE type stuff, for real. Speared her off me, and she was like, Tevin, go, leave. So I'm like walking fast to the door. Now, mind you,
pep
and
in
I
your
forgot to
step.
mention this, it was a sister there, her older sister there,
Okay.
kind of bigger woman, right? Her big self decides to block the door,
Oh God.
and she said, no, you're going to stay here and apologize. My bad, y'all. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, and she blocked the door, and he was like, no, you're going to stay here and apologize, yada, yada, yada. So the mother got up, grabbed me by the collar again, led me back to the kitchen, and was like, you're not leaving this house until you get a parent on the phone. Mind you, my parents never go nowhere. But on this beautiful Friday, they decided to go to the movies.
Oh Lord.
So I called both of them. None of them answered their phones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Lord, Lord, like my heart is like beeping, like pumping out of my chest.
Yes.
So at that time, my mom had a church, and her right-hand woman, I forgot the technical term for them, but her right-hand woman,
Okay.
by the grace of God, she answered the phone. Because before that, she had a whole frying pan in her hand with that same cooking oil that we cooked them beautiful chicken tenders on.
That Medea had. In that
Yes. And was ready to like launch it on me. And I called her, voice shaking, stuff like that. And was like, "Hey, I'm in a real serious situation here."
Tight
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. And shout out to her. She talked her off the edge, and I was able to go home. Right. So I go home, adrenaline,
Pumping.
nervous, all this other stuff, shaking, frightened, all that, man. And I get home, both my parents there. And I'm looking like, where were y'all antennas when your boy was in trouble? But them not knowing like I was even over there in the first place,
Oh Lord,
and stuff like that. So
the plot thickens.
yeah, yeah. So that was traumatic for me.
Okay.
And then will also kind of add to it. And I say this with no shade to them because I feel like I have lovely parents. But I didn't feel like I had my parents' protection. Because what happened was, like, when my mom saw the scars on my neck,
Mhm.
she was like, oh, I'm calling the police, whatever, whatever, whatever. And, once I laid, like, what happened and, like, the thesis and, like, giving the concept, like, what happened, mom was like, I remember mom saying this. And she was like, you kind of had that coming to you because you had sex. Now, mind you, right. That's exactly how I felt. Don't do that, because it sounds like you siding with her. But from her perspective, she's coming from a spiritual side, and she's a pastor. So it's like you out here fornicating, and that's a sin. So you gotta repay that. But my thing is like f all that. Like I just got basically held hostage and abused, threatened, and all that for no reason outside of taking your daughter's cookies.
So that is a reason.
Don't do that. You
But
sound like a mother. Don't take your mother head out of this now. Now let me finish. I'm gonna let you go. Let me finish. I'm gonna let you go. So, what my mom saying that felt like I didn't have no protection from her,
okay.
and then like my dad not like going along with it, but didn't really kind of like secure like nah like my son went through a dangerous situation. We gonna ride with this. He just let it slide too. So I'm like, dang, I just went through this traumatic experience, and I felt like I didn't get no protection. And you smiling? Why are you smiling? Because it was scary for me.
So okay, so I see both sides, right?
Right.
Like I see both perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
You at in an essence though, you were past the age of 18, correct?
Right.
So you were an adult
Right.
back in our millennial days.
Right. Right.
We were adults
Right.
at 18.
Right. And she
Um
was 17,
so
but still
I
technically whatever.
I understand
Right.
your perspective as, you know, your like adulthood I per se. I guess you guys could say that you were going into adulthood.
Mm.
However, like the saying goes, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Mm.
So I kind of agree with your mom, as in you kind of had that coming, because virginity is looked at as, I mean, now it's just looked at as having sex, right?
Yeah.
But back in the day, a man used to look at a woman, if taking her virginity was the most scariest thing to y'all, because it was more so like, that's our purity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then like, you're our first. So
Right.
we don't know, neither one of us know what we doing. So,
Right.
it's more so. So I understand from your mom's perspective. And she wasn't just coming from a spiritual perspective. She was trying to teach you a lesson.
Mm. I was in no
No
right
shape
mind
or
to
form
receive
to receive.
any kind of lessons
Oh, I understand.
because I was scared, frightened, scratched
Mhm.
up, had hot oil almost thrown on me, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Whole hostage in the whole house full of women.
Yeah.
That's scary, though.
It is very scary. It
And you
sounds
talking
like
about a lesson.
I mean, but did you not learn your lesson, or are you still going through the same things that you went through when
I
you
learned
were
a lesson.
Okay.
I learned a lesson. I learned how to talk to moms. That was one. That was one thing.
Jesus.
Definitely comfortable talking with moms now after that.
Okay.
You know?
So let me ask you this question then.
Yeah.
From that traumatic experience that you just shared, do you approach women differently now?
Oh, I definitely do.
Okay.
I'm definitely more genuine now and more of like, I want to know the value of you before trying to invite you in bed anywhere. Look at you blushing, bro.
So lesson learned.
Right. But going back to like the thesis of this topic, but that, like I said, that was very traumatic, and that was really the start. Cause like I said, this is me 18, my first year out of high school, going to my young adulthood. So this is like the genesis of like what led to how I dealt with women, because I didn't learn my lesson right away. I learned it later. It was like a delay. Don't do that. It was like a delay. I was still on demon time.
First you
with a
don't
lot-
succeed, then you try again.
Right. So what was a traumatic thing you experienced, like in your like going into your young adulthood years?
So I graduated just like how you did.
Right.
And then once I graduated high school, the only thing on our mind at that time was freedom. So, of course, I was going to go to college.
Right.
So, I ended up going to college. And when I got into college my freshman year,
Right.
I was still a virgin.
Right.
I still had my virginity.
Right.
So, the lesson that I was taught in my traumatic experience, I met a guy, boy meets girl, right? And so I met this guy and we started dating.
Right.
And I liked him, he liked me, so we ended up having sex. He ended up taking my virginity.
Right.
A couple weeks later, I noticed I don't have a cycle. I don't have a period, menstrual. So I'm like,
Oh Lord.
okay. And then I woke up one morning, my roommate in the dorm had cooked eggs. Now I love eggs. I love a good scrambled egg. So she had made scrambled eggs, and I threw them up.
Oh my
So I'm
goodness.
like, at that time, we're not
Right.
thinking about babies, and we
Yeah.
did for the sake of, what I'm saying, this traumatic. We used a condom,
Right.
so at that time I'm 18, so I'm not thinking about like, okay, what if the condom breaks, or I'm saying all this extra stuff. No,
Yeah.
when you in the moment, you in the moment.
Yeah. You thugging.
you thugging.
Yeah.
You right, you thugging. So then I started what we call spotting.
Right.
So I was like, ooh, praise God. Like, you saved me out of this one.
Mm.
I thought,
Dun dun dun.
going through my freshman year, I got halfway through it. And I was like, let me go, have a checkup. Went to the OBGYN. Not only did this lady tell me that I was 4 months pregnant,
Right.
she also told me I was having a boy.
Mm.
So not only did I lose my virginity, not only did you take my purity, you gave me a child.
On the first try.
On the first try.
Jesus.
So I felt like fertile myrtle.
Mm.
Like, I was like, oh God. So that traumatic experience, like I said, for me, traumatic experiences elicit a traumatic or an emotional response.
Right.
So my emotional response was, the second flip side to that was I hid it from my parents.
Mm.
My mom found out I was literally on campus going to philosophy, intro to philosophy class on campus.
Right.
I text her. She got a text. I'm pregnant.
Called you, didn't she?
She did, but I was already in class.
Yeah.
So, silence. My dad found out through Facebook.
Lord.
One of my colleagues that I was in class with decided to post us doing a Target run, and there you see me, 4 months pregnant with the belly.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And everybody hitting that Scooby Doo.
Yes. Or how when you in a party and a DJ with the record, it was one of them. It was one of them moments.
Yeah.
Jaw dropping.
Mm.
So I'm a first time mom, don't know. I was in a whole nother state. I wasn't in the state of Georgia. Nobody was really around me family wise that could help me. I was in Alabama.
Alabama. And you went to Alabama, right?
I went to the University of Alabama. So I was in Tuscaloosa by myself, 18, had them when I was 19. It was just very traumatic.
So how did you feel, not to cut you off, how did you feel about the man? Like after you found that out, what was your initial feeling towards the guy?
Oh, we're going to be a family. I ain't gonna lie, Delulu hit me very quick.
Yeah.
I was Delulu.
Yeah.
Very much so Delulu. Because I'm thinking, at that time I'm young. So my mindset was a baby can keep a man.
Right.
But it can't.
It definitely can't.
It don't. They gonna take care of that child and, all right, that's it.
Right.
Dap you up, keep it moving like you won their partners now.
Anthony Edwards showing that us right now. I mean, showing us that right now, bro. Baby ain't gonna keep no man. But
baby ain't gonna keep no man.
This ain't the podcast for that. We're gonna do that
we gonna. Baby don't keep no man. But at that time, I was excited.
Right.
I was more excited than he was. And because I knew I was more excited than he was because I was already picking out baby names and, going, to little baby stores like Babies R Us and, picking out little cute little clothes.
Right.
Meanwhile, the whole time I was doing this, I kid you not, Teven, this man was going to adoption agencies. Yes.
Word?
Yes. He picked out a whole family. Had the whole family
Like
picked
behind your
out.
back? Like you didn't even
behind
know?
my back. I didn't
Oh, my
even know.
goodness.
I didn't even know. So let me tell you the second flip side to that traumatic experience.
Yeah.
The day comes where I'm ready to deliver.
Right.
Get to the hospital. Guess who shows up next to my bedside?
Oh.
This nice married couple. The lady was Caucasian. The man was, he looked like he was mixed with something. But it was this adoptive couple who was adopting our child.
What the fudge?
Yes.
Damn.
And it gets even deeper. He signed his parental rights away. I did not sign mine. So that is why I still have my oldest son.
Now, does your oldest son know that?
He does not. And
Why not? What you say?
he does now, but I battled with myself in coming in here today to say this on the mic. But I mean, it's not gonna change how he feels. Yeah. It's not gonna change the love that I have for him. It's not gonna change our relationship because he knows who his dad is. And I mean, we're human. We make mistakes, right?
Right.
So at that time, he was young.
Right.
Now, the other secretivity to that whole situation, his mom found out that she was going to be a grandmother the day I gave birth.
Jesus.
He didn't even tell his mom. So she didn't know about a grandson. Yeah,
trying to sign him off before you come out the womb.
This family, and I felt so bad for this couple.
That's a whole episode, bro.
I felt bad for this couple because they had brought me pizza. They had picked out their baby stuff.
I don't know why that's funny, bro. They brought you.
Because I was looking like, who are these individuals? Like, who are these people next to my bed?
Papa John's in the delivery room.
In the delivery room. And I'm sitting there holding my child, crying because it was a happy, special moment for me.
Yeah, you got pizza waiting on you.
Pizza waiting on me. And then I was like, once he finally broke down and told me who these people were. Now, mind you, this family, it was a very, very good family he would have been adopted into. But the caveat to that was, the husband was military. Right. So I would only see my son for 2 years, the first 2 years of his life, and then they would have been switched off to Japan, Korea, or wherever he would have been stationed at.
So what was that, not to cut you off, so what was that conversation like with them? Like, yeah, this baby ain't going to y'all. Like, I didn't sign. Was that a conversation?
It was.
Oh, okay.
It was a conversation, and I was just as shocked as they were. Yeah. Because my son, at that time, I had already had his name picked out, Teven. Yeah. And one of the stipulations, the crazy part about this whole situation with his dad, right? He had the nerve to pick out this family behind my back that was going to take our child, and then had the nerve to say, but I have one stipulation to this whole me signing my rights away. Keep my child's name.
No, I ain't going to cuss.
So imagine me, and then, mind you, the whole birth was dramatic too because I had to end up having a C-section. Yeah. Because he was stubborn and didn't want to come out. I'm sitting here bouncing a ball. I was in labor for 12 to 14 hours. Right. So I just finally was like, okay, bump it. I'm going to have a C-section. Now, mind you, I'm still on the drugs, but you're shoving a piece of paper in my face, and I'm sitting here reading it. I'm still half lucid. Yeah. And I read it, and all I see is adoption. And I see the two people's names at the top, my son's name. And I'm like, what is going on? I feel like I was on an episode of Punk'd. Like, so that was a very traumatic experience from, that was my traumatic experience.
Bless your heart. So let's segue, right? So you was a teenager when that happened. Well, like a young teen. Mm-hmm. So now we're in our, like, mid-20s now. So let me ask you this. Was that still impactful into how you carried yourself as a parent and how you dealt with men into your 20s?
Yeah.
How was that like? What was that like?
I now have trust issues. Not gonna lie. I don't trust any man as far as I can thought. Actions, that's why I adopted the saying, actions speak louder than words to me. I pay attention to how a man moves. Yeah. Because your actions are gonna tell me everything about you that I needed to know. But then I also thank God for that experience because that let me see, you know what I'm saying? Like, men, you guys are really simple creatures. Right. You guys don't ask for a lot, but here we come with our
overcomplex,
overthinking, our nagging, right? And what we want. Right. And then it gets to a situation where it's just like you have all these failed relationships because of my trust issues. I'm not gonna lie. Trust is really big for me now. Like that really elicited the trust response from me because, like I said, I don't trust any man.
Yeah.
As far as I can throw you.
Right. That's funny.
You didn't tell me about this adoptive.
That wasn't a lie though. Like you say, and I hate to break it to y'all show.
No, go
I
ahead.
heard everything you were saying.
Right.
I was over here processing it, and you said that gave you trust issues.
Correct.
Now, like I can see how it would make you guarded.
Yeah.
I can see how it can make you standoffish, but nowhere did you say this man deceived you. He didn't. Like, in from your own recollection, from what you said, you slept with him one time. This wasn't even a relationship.
I mean,
It wasn't. Like, no, don't even do that. You slept with him one time.
Wait.
This wasn't a relationship. It was a one-night stand that led to you having a beautiful baby boy.
correct.
So there was no time in there.
So wait. So was y'all together or not?
We were.
Afterwards.
So we slept together that one time, and then we had that relationship all through college.
Right.
So why did you stay with this man after 10 months when you realized he was
Wait, you was still.
We were still together because you showed me, your actions showed that you wanted this child.
No,
Long
he tried to
behold,
get away.
correct.
Right.
Long behold, right. You were I was deceived. That
Right.
brought up the trust issues.
Right. So what made you take him back? Reporting live.
Because you started to turn over a new leaf.
Right.
But that took time because his first birthday party, we actually had it at his mom's house. So at the birthday party, I'm trying to be happy because this is our son's first birthday.
Right.
But deep down inside, I wanted to yell, scream, punch a wall.
Yeah.
Because, I wanted to punch myself.
Right.
Lesson learned. Everything that glitters isn't gold. Because you played in my face big time.
Yeah.
You were with me at those stores picking out those baby clothes.
Not
you
knowing
helped
he had a
me.
whole family trying to wait for
Whole
this dude.
family waiting for our son.
My heart.
So that's where, you deceived me, but you also lied to me because you told me you love me. You don't do something like that to somebody you love. That's not love. And I mean, I understand love looks different for everybody out there. So that brought up trust issues. I still have them to this day.
I bet
Like,
you do.
when a man texts me and you, like, if I'm in a relationship with a man and you tell me, hey, I'm finna go do this and that and the third and whoop, location.
Let me write that down.
Your location off.
Let me write that down, dog.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you where you're really supposed to be at? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's,
So from this one guy,
Mhm.
it's almost like every other guy that's come into your life is like paying
paying the price.
Yeah.
You're paying the price.
That's not
so
fair, though.
You're right.
We all do that, so it's not like I'm attacking you or anything like that.
No,
But it's
you
like,
are absolutely right.
Yeah.
So that is what we call trauma bonding.
Talk to him.
Because I trauma bonded with you.
Right.
We had this child,
Right.
right? And so then what do women normally do when we get into relationships or when we get into a fresh relationship? We normally talk about who? The ex or the person who made us this way.
Mm-hmm.
So we're telling that to the new guy.
And we're just soaking it all
We're
up.
trauma, and he's soaking
Writing
it all
notes
up. We're
of
trauma
what not to
dumping
do. Right.
of what not to do. And what does that man do? You turn around and do the exact same thing that the last man did. But you promised me that you wouldn't. So yes, you're absolutely right. It's not fair. That's why I've changed the way I approach relationships now. Like, instead of jumping in and being gullible, because I was gullible at that age, I really thought, like, oh, okay, we could work, we could be a family. Because, of course, every woman who has a child by a man, you want to be with your child's father.
Right.
So at that time, I wanted us to be a happy family.
Right.
So, yeah, I went back because it was normal for me. That's all I knew. So.
That's your heart. That's that baby's heart too, man. Jesus.
He's doing very well.
Amen.
And I don't think I could have lived with myself if I would have signed that paper. Because his daddy signed it within 5 seconds flat. And I was like,
It was pre-signed before I even got the document.
I was like, this was already signed, sealed, and delivered. So
Yeah.
why in that instance, why come to the baby stores with me? Why pick out baby names? Why, I should have seen the first red flag though when your mom found out the same day that I had that I had our child. She didn't even know she was gonna be a grandmother.
And it's so hard. It's really hard because on the outside looking in, you should have saw the red flags.
I should have.
When you really in it, it's hard to see the red flags.
Yeah,
or
you're
to even
clouded.
see it as a red flag.
You're jaded.
Exactly. All in love and all these feels and stuff like that. It's hard, man. Now with me, I definitely don't have a story like that. But I can tell you this, and this was traumatic for me. Me and my son's mom, we was expecting a second child. We was together.
Okay.
And our son was like around 2 at that time, I believe. 2 going on 3. And I remember, like, when we found out we was pregnant, my initial response was, we gonna make this work. And both of us
so you double back.
Yeah.
You spit the block.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Because, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
But majority
yeah.
of the time it doesn't.
Yeah. Right. But, like, we're going to make this work. And like I said, we was together, though. It's not
Okay.
like we was, like, just still dealing with each other. Like, we still in the whole relationship.
Okay.
Even though it wasn't the best at the time, we was still rocking with each other.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, like, at that time, I was really just trying to rock to stay a family. Like, my feels for her really deplenished because it was just a lot we went through and we never talked about.
You were young.
Yeah, yeah. And this is me, like around 22, 23. Yeah, like 23 years old. Mm-hmm. And like I said, my first initial thought was, we're going to make this work. That's what I told her. She was like, we getting this baby up out of here. And that was, like, that whole, from that conversation leading up to when we both went to the clinic to get that done, was very traumatic. And I'm be honest with you, because one thing I'm never gonna do is paint myself like I'm a good guy, because I wasn't. Before, like, that night, I used to work at FedEx, right, overnight. Don't what you laughing at?
Because I feel like I already know where this story is headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was with another chick, and I was really kind of drowning my feelings into that chick. You know what I mean? Like, trying to block off, like, because this is my first experience. Actually going to a clinic, going through an abortion, stuff like that. I don't know what to expect, what's going to be asked, all this other jazz.
But what does the saying say?
What?
In order to get over somebody, you have to get up under somebody else. And that's what you did.
I got
Thinking
a
that it was
history of
going to work.
Yes. I got a history
Why,
of that.
though?
I'm going to tell you why. For me, I can't speak for all men. I'm going to tell you for me, though. But let me get through the story, though. So, went through that. And, like I said, I was with the one before that. So after that, there was no conversation. After. We didn't discuss it. We didn't discuss how we felt. I brought it up. She was more like, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It happened, yada, yada, yada. So it was like I was drowning in that relationship a little bit. I felt like I lost my connection to her after that, because all I caught myself wanting to do was, like, have sex with her every time I saw her. But not like on some horny-ish, but to feel a connection, because, like, why am I here with you? Like, so I'm trying to find value through, like, having sex with you, because I can't feel nothing else if we're talking, if we're nothing. Why you making that face, bro? I don't like these faces you
Because you, like, let's be honest now.
What?
Mentally ask yourself, did you lose the connection with her because you weren't having sex, or did you lose yourself?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, both. Definitely both.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I lost myself before we even got pregnant again. But like I said, I was just so jaded, as you would say, in love and all this other. Well, I was in love. I was still in love with her and all this other stuff. But that was a lesson learned for me, and it was traumatic based on the feel from not having my feelings heard. Now, I already came from a background of that, the household, like with my parents, right?
Okay.
So when I feel like my feelings didn't matter in this particular situation, I was like, okay, I got to end this. And that came later on. And it's so funny because I spent the block one more time. I gave one last hurrah to be like, hey, let's try to do this one more time. all this other stuff, and
Na-na-na.
and she
Like, okay.
and she like chose this guy she was dealing with at work over me.
Oh.
So me dealing with rejection growing up, I took that to heart, and it's so funny. I took that to heart because I'm the one who broke us up. I broke us up and then tried to give a last hurrah.
You reap what you sow.
Hey, ain't gonna hear no argument on that from me, But I started to develop a pattern of every time I'm feeling something I don't want to feel, I gotta get a woman to
To alleviate
to
or to project
that
those
on.
feelings.
Yeah, that's been a pattern of mine for a good part of my young adulthood.
Yeah.
And I remember I had this friend, and I felt so bad. Actually, I ain't gonna lie to you. I talked about this situation with a friend of mine like last month, and I cried because I just realized like how evil I was, conniving,
I mean,
diabolical, if that even makes sense. Like I was really using this one particular lady that I was friends with, like real life friends with, just for sex, just to get over my son's mom. And I had to kind of like finesse a relationship. She thought we was together.
oh God.
Don't do that. She thought we was together, and it's like I kind of painted the picture like we were, only to have that kind of access to her.
Why? What? That's.
I'm not
You
even
wanna
gonna say
know-
I was young or anything. It was just more like the way my mind processed it. This was comfortable. That sanity, that was comfortable for me.
Okay, so you were content.
I was content with it. I was
Okay.
comfortable with it because that's the only like my thought process that I didn't know how to think no other way out of that. And then not even thinking about it, acting on it as well. So like you said, actions speak louder than words.
Correct.
That was my actions.
Okay.
Even though I thought like there's definitely more healthier ways.
To cope.
Yes.
To cope.
But my actions
coping
didn't care about that.
mechanisms.
Yeah.
They didn't. Like you were what church people would call in their flesh.
Yeah.
Your flesh spoke louder than your spirit.
Oh, it definitely did. Like sex was a real life drug to me, bro.
I mean, it's an addiction.
Yeah.
Like, like
And
anybody else.
I didn't use sex for like just so I can get off. It really was like an antidepressant.
Yeah.
I treated it like it was an antidepressant.
It relieved.
Every time I felt, not to cut you off, every time I felt depressed, sad, rejected, anything, hey, what you doing? Hey, big head, how you doing? I don't call no woman big head though, but I'm always reaching out to someone, trying to get that connection, just to not feel this way. Like it took a long time. And the funny thing is, going back to my son's mom situation, I actually tried like music, talking it out. Like I was listening. This is back when Eminem was hot. I was trying to listen to Eminem.
You better
Because
lose
if
yourself
anybody
in the music in the
experienced
moment.
if anybody is experienced about talking bad about women to try to get over women, it's definitely him. Especially when it comes down to music. You know what I mean? So he wasn't working, and I had the worst job when you're trying to go through something. I was a telemarketer,
Ooh.
so I had to talk.
Ooh.
I didn't feel like talking when I was going through that, man. And after work, all I could think about was like, I hope this girl is available for me to F her so I could stop feeling like this. I was a monster back then, dog.
There was a word for back then. You weren't a monster. You were diabolical. Because, and shout out to all the women.
Why should look me up and down like that?
Cause
All these victims.
man, because I mean, essentially that's what they were, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, for you, it was just another trophy on your belt.
Mm.
Her body, her, hoo-ha, what she had between her legs, that got you out of the most dangerous place you can ever be, which is in your feelings.
Yeah.
And I tell you this all the time. The most dangerous place you can be in is your feelings. Because when you're in your feelings, that's when you start doing things out of your character, out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like it's, you got to learn how to, because right now I'm reading 48 Laws of Power.
Right.
And in the
book.
first, the first like little interface in that book is talking about mastering your emotions.
Right.
So that's where I'm at in my self-growth journey.
Right.
So we both sat here and we both have discussed our traumatical sabbaticals that we went through.
On my end, but there's no sabbatical, dog.
Man,
There's
man.
no sabbatical, man.
We've talked about it. So now let's segue into coping mechanisms.
Yeah,
How do we cope with it?
right.
How do you
Um,
what are some ways
just to
that
put
you
this out here, there's gonna be a part 2 to this. So
Yeah.
we ain't gonna talk about letting it go yet. We're gonna say that for part 2. So
Ooh.
coping with it, right? Going back to
Mhm.
what you said, coping with it, and we're gonna end the segue on this. I mean, end the segment on this. Coping with it, be in your feels, man. I know what you said about it, but you really got to be aware of your feelings to learn how to deal with them. If you're always staying away from them, how you gonna learn how to deal with it? You're not coping if you're staying away from something. You know. So that's my thing. Yeah, look at you, look at humbled, ain't you? No, just playing.
Yeah, very much so. That's
So
a nugget. That's a nugget. I gotta take that in.
yeah. So be in your feels. Be aware.
So emotional awareness.
Yes.
Okay.
So it can help you understand why you feel like that, because you're gonna have to go back, because like going not to go back into the story, but like how I dealt with my son's mom in that situation, and how long I had that, it all traced back to the first time I dealt with something like that.
Correct.
You know, I dealt with other women like that. You know, had women up under me just so I could not feel.
Okay.
So especially to the men out there, feel, bruh.
It's okay to be emotionally
Yes.
available.
Don't think of it as weak. You're stronger when you understand your emotions, not when you're trying to shy from it and be strong by not dealing with it. Don't let nobody else tell you otherwise.
Message.
Message. So I'm gonna drop the mic on that, man. What about you?
So coping with it looks like, for me, I'm a talker.
Yeah.
So I go to therapy.
Amen.
Having somebody to talk to. Another coping mechanism I use, I stay in my Bible.
Come on now.
Like, my spirit is everything to me.
Yeah.
And it won't be tainted because of a traumatic experience that I, had when I was 18, 19. Like, it's not going to be, I'm not going to let that taint me.
Right.
And I try to keep myself around people that are elevating, that are on that elevation tip, right? So those 3 things have worked so far. And I'm still amongst the living, so.
Okay, Walking Dead.
So, for me, that is how I cope. So, mic drop on that one.
Mic drop. All right, y'all. This is the end of the show. I promise y'all, it's not gonna take us 4 years to do another episode.
It's not. I promise.
It's not. But y'all be blessed. Keep your mind right.
Be safe.
Amen.